right, let's do it, fellas. How y'all doing? It's another Houston
live.
Roundball Reviews. Folks talking sports. We are live. I'm Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Joining me as always, the youngster of the trio, Yanez from Paul Samajama, Community Impact newspaper. Another hat he may have on soon. Who knows? He still does other stuff. Mr. Versatile. Another versatile brother here, Willy Gibson from, what is it? WTG Sports. Is that it, sir?
Yes, it is.
WTG Sports from Ohio, and he also covers the Ohio State University. We're doing it at 4 o'clock today because we want to wrap it up in time for ourselves and our viewers, fans, supporters to tune in to the 5:30 tip-off Central Time Summer League matchup between the Rockets and the Cleveland Cavaliers, which will be shown on ESPN2. I think right now, Toronto and the Knicks are playing. The little bit I saw, I know Quentin had made a shot, a three-point already, but the shot after that he missed. But his defense was solid. So, but as U of H Twitter account, to their credit, and marketing themselves, they got to do that. They mentioned that Quentin Grimes and the Knicks are playing at 3:30. Armani Brooks and the Rockets are playing at 5:30. And then Dejan DeRozan and the Heat are playing at, I think, 9 o'clock, all on TV. So representing U of H men's basketball program. So that's good to see. But let's get right into it, fellas. The Olympics have wrapped up. NBA free agency started. Let's talk with free agency first. Anything surprise you? Anything good or bad about a team? What were they thinking? Because money-wise, I'm not going to hit anybody getting that bag. So if a team want to give it to them, go ahead. But anything surprise you? Andy, you first.
I'd say the thing that's most surprising would be the Miami Heat, just how active they were, adding Kyle Lowry, adding a lot of defensive presence. They also added PJ Tucker and kind of switched around the roster a little bit, and the extension they gave to Jimmy Butler as well. I think they're putting themselves in an interesting position where they're trying to make a run and get back to the NBA Finals like they did a season ago with the NBA bubble. And I think right up there, you got to put the Russell Westbrook trade. I don't think, many people had that on their radar before it happened.
Willie, how about you?
Yeah, that was my surprise. The Jimmy Butler extension kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, he's eligible for it clearly, but 4 years, 184. Man, it's clearly they're letting him know that he's the man, and that his relationship with Kyle Lowry is what got Kyle Lowry into Miami. But that was, for me, the shock is that the 4 years, 184. Again, no shade, secure the bag without question. No guns have ever been pulled in the contract negotiation. So they put it on the table, you sign it. But that was a shock for me.
What shocked you? The timing of it?
The timing of it.
Okay.
The timing of it.
Okay. Anything so far in terms of signings? I have in my mind what I think could be the best signing for a team free agency wise. I liked Brooklyn getting Patty Mills.
Mm-hmm.
I like that signing the most. The Lakers going veteran. Okay, we'll see how that all fits. But I liked also them getting some youngsters in Malik Monk and Kendrick Nunn and Taylor Horton Tucker. So they got a nice balance there. But in terms of signing, I like Patty Mills' fit in Brooklyn, backing up. Sometimes maybe playing with Kyrie, or Kyrie does one of his Kyrie things, and spaces out for a week or two. Got a solid backup in Patty Mills. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a perfect, especially now that they lost Spencer Dinwiddie. I think he's a good fit just in terms of being that veteran presence, in terms of the backup guard position. He's versatile. He can catch and shoot, and he can also create shots. So I think he'll be a perfect fit for the Brooklyn Nets. You already saw Kevin Durant after, I believe it was one of the games where he was with Patty Mills on the Instagram Live, just messing around, but just right there, if KD likes him and embraces him, you can see right there it's a good fit.
Will?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Patty Mills is a very versatile player. He's someone that, as you said, if Kyrie does Kyrie things, he's a viable backup, a viable someone, especially with, as Andy said, losing Spencer Dinwiddie, someone that is a veteran, someone that comes in, has this talent, has the skill level to not miss a beat if, and I'll say when, Kyrie does what Kyrie does.
And you're not wrong in saying that because Kyrie has a track record. I mean, so we're not throwing shade on Kyrie. This Kyrie does what Kyrie does. At some point, he's going to do something, say something, and he's going to miss some games. Mm-hmm. How about KD? Speaking of extensions, contract extensions, how about KD getting his huge deal? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was another thing that kind of caught me by surprise, just in terms of how quickly he signed it. And I know a good majority of Rocket Twitter kind of were not happy with that extension, just in terms of with the pick swaps that Houston and Brooklyn made a part of that James Harden trade. But I mean, good for Kevin Durant. He secured his long-term bag, as everyone likes to say it, and I think it's perfect for the Nets. And I guess it's a little bit surprising just in terms of Kevin Durant committing for so long to one organization, but even at the NBA, you're never sure how quickly things can change.
Will?
Agreed. It was almost a foregone conclusion to everyone that the big three, if you will, of Kyrie, Harden, and KD would become free agents next year, decline their player options, and then re-up, make the decisions either collectively or individually. But good for KD to step up and say, no, I'm going to go ahead and forego that player option now and secure the bag at 4 years, 198.
How about the Rockets getting in the sign and trade 6'8" forward Daniel Tice? Is that a good thing? Does it make sense to you guys? You see him fitting in? What are your thoughts?
I'd see him be a good fit, especially after the Rockets lost Kelly Olynyk, bringing another veteran presence to a young core. And in terms of his contract, it's not. I believe it's a 3-year deal with a team option on one of the final.
Yeah. 4 years with the option. Team years on the fourth year. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Correct. So I mean, it's not necessarily it's not a contract that'll be unmovable. And certainly, if the Rockets are looking for flexibility, trade down the road, it's a contract that can be moved. But for this season, I think it's a good signing, not only to fill in that void that Kelly Olynyk will live, but just to have another veteran presence on the roster and a young core.
Will?
Yeah, solid player. I mean, a rotational guy. Someone that, as Andy said, brings that veteran presence. Someone in Boston who has a recent winning pedigree. Hopefully, he can bring some of that to Houston and be a presence.
Does it bother you that he's 6'8", not 6'11"?
Me? No. No. I mean, again, I look at him as just a rotational player, someone that 7th, 8th man perhaps, and provide that veteran presence and bring some type of recent winning pedigree.
Andy?
I think the Rockets are always going to end up in an interesting side in terms of size, but like I said, I think the fit is more important in terms of size than anything, especially with the new rotational players and even the rookie that we've talked about as Sengun. He's another big that the Rockets have. So I think for Houston, this is much more of a role player signing where not only can they have a spot on the roster, but also to have, I think, the veteran leadership is more important.
Now check this stat out, and I hope Cade he just beat me to it. I was about to ask him to chime in with a comment in our comment board. Check this stat out from the Rockets PR department. Tice joins Yanez and Hawks forward John Collins as the only players to have shot 55% or better from the floor with at least 100 3-pointers made since 2017-18.
That's interesting.
So thoughts on that? Yeah, he joins his numbers the last few years: 9 points a game, 6 boards, 1 block in fewer than 25 minutes per game. Only other folks to do that, AD and Robert Covington. So Tice has a role. So, Tice and Seawood, we'll see how they play together. I think Tice will defend the bigger dudes that Seawood just can't do. I mean, that's not really good for him to go against bigger guys up front. But I like the fit. But let me throw a curveball at you. is Tice a better player than Kelly Olynyk? A better fit
I wouldn't
than
say.
Kelly Olynyk?
Fit. I would say not a better player, in my opinion. A fit for Houston. What is? I guess I would ask you guys, since you are closer than I. What is the fit? What is it that Steven Silas is going for? Before I can really answer if he's a better fit than Olynyk.
I think it's more of what I touched on, his versatility, defending bigger players. Mm-hmm. He's quick enough, he's mobile enough to defend some on the perimeter. Just make it easier on Christian Wood to not have to go against the bigger bodies, things like that. That's what I think my take is on it. Andy, what do you think?
No, I agree with Will. I think that Kelly Olynyk was certainly the better player, and fit is such a interesting word. I think Kelly Olynyk was a great fit for the Rockets last year, especially with how often Christian Wood was in and out of the lineup. He was much more physical player. He was more versatile in terms of post move that he could score, and he could also step out and shoot three. I don't think Daniel Tice, maybe a different role, but I feel like Kelly Olynyk would have been a much better if they had retained him. And the contract is getting into too much of the into the specifics, but I feel like Kelly Olynyk was a better player, and you could arguably better fit just in terms of how versatile he was.
I think Olynyk would have cost more than Rockets wanted to pay him.
Yeah, and that's I agree.
Yeah, the deal he signed with Detroit, 3 years, $37 million. Tice, 4 years, $36 million. So maybe a better value there. Mm-hmm. Rockets still have the trade exception to go out and get somebody else. I saw Rockets Twitter, some were really hoping that would be Kelly Oubre. Okay, but he's going to Charlotte. So Rockets still looking for someone to kind of fill that spot to be a. What are the Rockets missing? Ask you guys. They're young. I think I like the fact that they seem to have a plan to build for the future. I hope they don't spend too much time with Eric Gordon and John Wall taking up too many minutes from the youngsters. But what are the Rockets missing right now besides experience?
I would say a leader. I mean, is John Wall going to be the leader? I mean, one, how long is he going to be there? Are they looking to keep him at $44 million? Or
I hope not.
If not, right. So who's going to be the veteran leader? I mean, is Daniel Tice the one that they're looking to?
I hope not Gordon? There too.
Right, exactly. Those are my point. I don't know the veteran leader that's on that team. Gordon is on his way out. John Wall, $44 million, could be on his way out. So is Daniel Tice the veteran leader that they're looking to?
I hope not, Andy. My bad for cutting you off, but get ready to comment. I hope the veteran is going to be Christian Wood, a young veteran. That's what I hope is somebody like that, because Eric Gordon and John Wall, their time here, the Rockets should be limited. Okay, I understand. John Wall will make a great coach. I really see that. A lot of folks believe his basketball knowledge, IQ is tremendous. He does a good job taking the youngsters under his wing, all those things. But the money that he's getting, no shade on him, but his fit here, he needs to go to a team that is ready to compete for a championship. That ain't the Rockets. Okay, but if John Wall is content with that role of being a locker room guy, still getting some minutes in production while still getting that check with no hopes of winning a championship. Okay. I mean, because Vince Carter played 20 years, and at some point Vince made up his mind that he was content in his role. He wasn't happy. He wasn't chasing the ring. So if John wants to do that, fine. But if Rafael Stone can get something for John Wall, he needs to look into it and make it happen, because it's all about the Rockets program going forward. But yeah, I think Christian Wood could be the young veteran for the team. He's got to, grow into it. He's got to play like it. But that's my take. Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree 100%. He took I feel like that leader should be, and it should be Christian Wood, just in terms of much younger. I believe he's like 25 or 26 years old. You'd imagine he'd be with this core a lot longer than John Wall or Eric Gordon or even Daniel Theis. And I mean, I think besides that, the thing the Rockets are missing, and you mentioned it, besides experience, maybe you could see one of those younger players also step up into not necessarily the alpha leader, but just another presence that commands respect, if that's the right way to phrase it, in terms of whether it be Kevin Porter, Jayshawn Tate, who they can, if they're not necessarily the leader, you can look to them. And whether it's Jayshawn Tate on defense, if there's something like a crunch time and you need someone to get a stop, or Kevin Porter or someone else like that, where you need a basket, you can go to them and grow in that aspect. I feel like that's something that the Rockets will be missing, and hopefully it ends up with one of those younger players that fills in that spot as the season progresses.
And I agree with Cade, scoring and defense. That's why Jayshawn Tate, right now, because Garuba hasn't arrived yet, Jayshawn Tate, probably the team's best one-on-one defensive player. Will, you should like that from being the Ohio State University, Jayshawn Tate. But Garuba, at some point, if he lives up to the hype, he should become the team's best defensive player. Not saying that's going to be this year as a 19-year-old, but at least with Tate, Garuba, if Jalen Green backs up his words in terms of wanting to be a complete player on both ends of the court, that'll be a third piece for defense. Kevin Porter Jr., well, you tell me if you think Scoot's going to be a two-way player. I don't see that. I mean, he just seems like a bucket getter and assist guy. But you tell me, what do you think? Could Kevin Porter Jr. be a great, good to great defensive player?
I'm sorry, was it to me?
Yes, you will. Yeah.
Yes. I think he can be. For the little, I said this with Trevor Day. The little I saw of him in Cleveland, I definitely believe he has it in him. He has the pieces. He has the talent to do so. It's just a want to, And are they asking him to do that? Because clearly, I mean, from what I've seen, he has the ability to be a great two-way player. But are they asking him to do that? And before I have a question for you, the two of you, and you tell me, we talking about veteran leadership in Houston. Granted, as we see how the states are progressing, I'm sure he regrets turning down the extension. And Olenek signs with Detroit. If Victor Oladipo was on this team, would he be looked at?
No.
No.
Hell no.
Wow.
Hell no. No.
Wow.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Strike from the record. Okay.
No, unless his mentality changes, because almost all of us thought when he was a Rocket, he had one foot out of the door to Miami immediately. I mean, it was immediately. He said all the right things about being, a great guy, doing what it takes here while he's, all the right things. He said all the right things. But none of us thought he was a long-term answer for the Rockets. No. So I'm, going to the Heat, and Vic, he's got to get healthy first, and he resigned, re-up with the Heat. I wish him well.
Only a 1-year deal.
Yeah, because he's got to bet on himself.
Proven.
He's got to get healthy, man, stay healthy. The talent was there when he was healthy, but he didn't shoot well here when he was with the Rockets, and everybody could see that he did want to be here. He just took up space. So no on that one. Let's get into LeBron and responding to the hate about the Lakers signing all these veterans. And I'm going to say it right now, August 8th. They're veterans. The Lakers are a veteran squad as long as they win. If they start losing, they're old. So we'll see how they, and the talent is there. And everybody's talking about signing Dwight and the older heads, trading for Russ and all that. Folks forgetting one key factor. If AD can't stay healthy, it's not gonna matter who is who's on the squad. If it's Dwight, Kendrick Nunn, LeBron, Russ, whoever. If AD has not changed his diet, his workout routine, and keeps missing games because of nagging injuries here and there, we're wasting our time talking about the Lakers. Andy, what you say?
Yeah, I agree. I think I said this last week where I think the biggest question mark for the Lakers, and this was before they added Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, and a couple of the more veterans. The key for them is just their health. And I mean, not even Anthony Davis, but LeBron James too. I mean, this past season, he had struggles. His first year in Los Angeles, he had another injury problem where he missed a good chunk of the season. That's the biggest question mark for them, because if they can stay healthy, especially once it comes towards the end of the season and they can get a top 5 seed, they're going to be in a great spot, and they're going to be a tough out just in terms of who they have on their roster. But I mean, yeah, I feel like that's the biggest question mark for them. And even then, this is kind of giving similar vibes to the team in Cleveland during the 2017-18 year, where they signed a lot of veterans. They built around Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, and that roster was a complete disaster that ended up changing by the trade deadline. It was a completely different roster. So I wouldn't be surprised if things really went bad. That happens with the Lakers here. But I agree. I think the number one question mark for this Lakers team is just health.
Mr. Ohio, what say you?
Mr. Ohio. I think so. I think it's the key is the offseason. They have a full offseason. I think it's 138 days from the night Phoenix eliminated them in the first round to opening night. Last year it was 71. So the fact that they have double the time off to recover, prepare their bodies, as you said, AD, prepare his diet, what have you. I think LeBron in year 19, along with all of the other pieces they added around him, I think the game is going to be so much easier for LeBron. LeBron's not worried about the regular season. He's not.
Agreed.
He's not. His goal is, I need to get to the playoffs in tip-top condition. And I think Russ, one of the benefits of having Russ there is Russ can do some of the heavy lifting in December, January, February that will allow LeBron to preserve his body in year 19 to get to April, May, June. So, and as he said, health is definitely a key, but I think that these pieces are for. And then on a side note, LeBron's like 3,000 points away from breaking Kareem's all-time scoring record. I think there's going to be a concerted effort this year with LeBron at the 4 to get him that record. If he averages 27 that he's averaged throughout his career, I think he gets it done this year. And I think the Lakers organization is going to be on high alert to hopefully get that done this year.
Well, this a curveball for you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, with the Rockets and Cavs tipping off in a little more than an hour on ESPN2, is anyone besides Evan Mobley someone to watch on the Cavs?
No. That's straight down the middle. That's not a curveball.
Not a curveball. Okay. No one at all. Okay.
I mean, Lamar Stevens, maybe, a rookie they signed at the end of last season, Penn State. Lamar Stevens, but no, not really.
Okay. All right, because, with the roster, the Rockets roster, of course, Jalen Green. This is the Summer League roster that the Rockets announced. Jalen Green, KJ Martin, Armani Brooks, Josh Christopher, Usman Garuba is on the roster. They have not put out a press release officially announcing that he's been signed yet, but I think that's a matter of time. Kyrie Thomas, Alperen Şengün, Anthony Lamb, Trey Fields from Yale, one of the old heads, born in 1996. Jalen Tate Jalen Tate, not Jaysean, Jalen Tate, Jaysean's brother. Marcus Foster, Matthew Hurt from Duke. Any of those guys besides Jalen Green you're kind of curious about seeing? Andy?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm curious to see Armani Brooks. Not obviously we know that he can shoot the ball, but I'm curious to see how his body looks and if he's more of an active defender and physical. I think that's the biggest thing that he needs to prove to be able to take that next step in the NBA, because we talked about it. Obviously, his calling card is 3-point shooting, but in order to be able to make a lot of money in the NBA and be a key player, and whether it's with the Rockets or any team, he has to pick it up on defense, and his body has to fill up.
Agreed. And I wish I'd have thought about putting up a picture of Tremont Mark before and after. Well, I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but freshman Tremont Mark from University of Houston. Well, first, Alan Bishop, strength coach. What is it called? Excuse me, physical performance coach. I think that's what it's called now, not strength coach. Physical performance.
I think it's strength. Mm-hmm.
Something like that, title. He tweeted a picture of Tremont Mark from last year compared to Tremont Mark now. Well, Tremont Mark last year looked like me. Okay. Tremont Mark now. Tremont Mark now looks like. Oh, let me see. He's a sophomore, will be a freshman again, technically. In the college, getting the year again. Looks like. Oh wow, let me see. Draymond Green.
Oh,
I mean, he's huge. He looks like he could play some football, like be a tight end going across the middle at 6'5". He looks just rock solid. Let's say 6'4", 6'5", Andy, maybe 220, 225. He looks huge. So I don't know if he officially last year he may have been 185, 190.
Oh wow,
195 maybe. I mean, okay, he wasn't 200. I would be shocked if it was 200. But man, the picture of him, he's bigger.
He's 185 less.
Yeah, he ain't that now. If he is, I mean, it is truly all muscle, truly. So he's ready to. So if Armani can start looking like that, how Tremont Marks looks now, that might be, some guys just don't have that kind of build, because I got old man weight, so I've put on a few lbs as I've gotten older, but Armani's not nowhere near my age. He needs to get stronger and bulk up, and for goodness sake, play defense better. Rebound, he was a good rebounder last year for the most part with the Rockets, but gotta play defense, take better shots, not just settle for threes and all those. Mix up his game, get to the bucket, finish at the rim, which would help if he's stronger, so he can finish through contact. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in this summer league, not just tonight, And let me just say this to Rocket fans, Cavs fans, Pistons fans, Knicks fans, fans of your team, NBA team. Don't freak out if the star rookie struggles today. Game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4. Don't freak out. Okay. Just relax. You still got training camp. They have time to, practice more, get more acclimated, more comfortable to the NBA lifestyle and NBA practices and all the NBA game, all those things. Don't freak out. Nobody's going to be a bust in August. Okay. Just keep that in mind. Don't freak out if Jalen Green misses 4 shots in a row. Oh my gosh, Rockets made a mistake picking it. Calm down, people. Or Şengün misses a layup. Or, oh my gosh, oh no, whoa, what are they doing? I thought he was so good in Turkey, MVP. They said all this kind of stuff. Folks, calm down. It's summer league. Okay? It's August. Not October, not December, not February, not March, not April. It's August. Calm down. Enjoy it for what it is. It's entertainment. It's basketball content to fill time. That's what it is to me. I'm looking more forward to post game to hear about what the players have to say when they talk to us post game. That's what I want to see. I'm not going to just freak out. Just relax. Okay. We're going to shift gears. So to my people, Cade on YouTube, watching us on YouTube, we're going to shift gears for a few minutes to some football. American Athletic Conference football, AAC Football Media Day took place on August 3rd and 4th. Really August 4th, because the 3rd was more of previews on ESPN Plus. The interviews were done on August 4th. Andy, did you watch it, man? Did you watch any of it?
On ESPN Plus?
Yes, sir.
I was able to catch on ESPN Plus, no, but I did catch what Mike Aresco said and what Dana Holgorsen said during Media Day.
Okay, so that's a good lead in, young man. Thank you very much for that. So first clip, we're going to hear from Commissioner Mike Aresco. He addresses the elephant in the room. It's about a minute. He discusses conference realignment. That's about a minute. Get your thoughts. Come back and get your thoughts on that comment. Then go to about a 3-minute clip where the first question of the Football Media Day, the first Q&A for Commissioner Aresco, is from AP writer Ralph Russo with asking Mike Aresco, what have you said to the teams in the American who may be thinking about leaving? So first things first, Commissioner Mike Aresco and his thoughts on realignment, because everybody want to know about this. It wasn't a shock. His State of the Conference address was 20 minutes. His realignment was 1 minute. Here we go.
This conference is always going to do what's in its best interest. We're a strong conference with a strong brand. We have a membership committed to excellence on and off the field and court. We're aggressive in our goals and ambitions, but with respect to realignment, the way we look at it is if there are schools interested in us who would enhance our brand and be a good cultural and competitive fit, then why wouldn't we consider them? What happens down the road, whatever happens down the road, we're going to continue to focus on growth and excellence and continue to compete at the highest level of intercollegiate athletics, which we have always done from the very outset of this conference. This conference is, as I said, proud of its achievements, but we're not satisfied by any means. There's much more to accomplish, and we're going to remain steadfast in our mission to provide our student athletes with the highest level of competition and the highest level of support in their academic and other endeavors.
I think we lost Kris.
Yeah. Everything froze there for a minute there. I don't know. Commissioner Aresco trying to bogart our time there. But what are your thoughts on what he said?
Yeah, I'll go first. I remember we actually discussed this, Dayon and I, in Potsdam and Gemma. And the way we described it, it was kind of the political answer where, he addressed the situation. He says, obviously he denied the ESPN or the report by the Big 12 commissioner accusing them of plotting with ESPN to take the Big 12 teams. And he said that he wasn't actively pursuing, but he puts that nugget in at the end. If it makes sense, of course we're going to pursue it. It's not really much you can say from that comment, in my opinion, just in terms of it's what he's supposed to say, but I'm pretty sure behind the scenes they're looking at every avenue they possibly can to see if they can take some of those teams.
Well, what are your thoughts on what you heard from the commissioner?
Yeah, what I heard was a quintessential non-answer answer. He said a lot of great vocabulary. He said a lot of words, but at the end of the day, didn't say anything. So, I mean, as Andy said, he pretty much said what you expected him to say in a moment like that. He read from a prepared statement, so that lets you know he thought about it, and his team had him prepared. So he said a lot to say nothing, to me.
I agree. And if you thought that was a non-answer answer, as I said, wait till you listen to this. And this was how we tipped off the Q&A from the media. It's about 3 minutes long. The first person you'll see will be Chuck Sullivan, the media director for the American, then a question from my AP writer, and then Commissioner Aresco. So here we go. This is going to be fun.
First one from Ralph Russo. Ralph, if you can unmute yourself and feel free to ask your question.
Hi, Mike. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Ralph. Yes, I do. Thank you. Good to see you, Ralph.
You know, you addressed a lot of the realignment stuff, so I don't necessarily want to make you go over everything again. But with this type of movement, it does seem to make sense that, you know, other conferences might be looking toward the American, and the American might need to, you know, maybe play some defense. Have you had discussions in your conference about how to best protect yourself? In other words, why stay? Have you had to have that meeting with your ADs about why it would benefit them to stay with the American as opposed to possibly going elsewhere, specifically to the Big 12?
Yeah, absolutely, Ralph. We've discussed with our membership. You have to, obviously, what our strategic vision is and why it would be wise for them to stay in this conference, which is a growth conference, which is a conference that's strong and stable. You know, I think instability is a real concern here. If a conference isn't stable, then who knows what its future is, whereas this conference is. And we think that we've got a great future here. And so, yes, we've talked about, you know, our teams and why, you know, why they should stay. But again, I think for the most part, though, we've talked about what our future is. You know, we've been cohesive. You know, one never knows what's going to happen. But, you know, we at this point, if you know, one of the concerns we have is, you know, we obviously have a great conference. We know that, and with all the things swirling around now, we don't know what's going to happen. So we just want everyone, you know, to step back, you know, look at the situation, and we're basically staying calm and just analyzing the situation, Ralph. That's really what we're doing at this point.
And a very quick follow-up, and it's very specific, so I don't know how much you'd be able to actually answer it, but have any schools from the Big 12, the 8 schools that appear to be in the process of being sort of left behind by Texas and Oklahoma, have any of those schools reached out to the AAC about possibly joining the league or having a landing spot if that conference falls apart?
You know, Ralph, I would say, you know, I have not reached out to anyone at the Big 12, but we never talk about whether, you know, anyone reaches out to us. And again, I just don't want to even discuss it. I've observed recently that other commissioners are hinting, you know, at adding teams, and some of them are even more than hinting. We don't discuss these things publicly, Ralph, and I think I would really leave it at that.
Thoughts on that, Will? Thoughts on that, Andy?
Yeah, the thing that stood out to me was how when he was talking about the things they kind of pitched to teams that might be thinking about leaving the American Athletic Conference, and how he said we're a conference of growth, but then he comes and turns around and says we're not looking at any options. We're not going to speak on it. I think it goes back to his statement where honestly he's in a spot where he can't say much publicly, especially right now. You have the Big 12 in a bit of a desperate mode. I don't know. Like, it's a lot of don't much in my opinion.
Will, what are your thoughts on what Mike Aresco said?
Yeah, before when I said the first one was the quintessential non-answer answer, I take all that back. I take all that back. That second one, yeah, he said a lot. He said a lot and didn't say anything because first he said we're stable, but we never know what's going to happen. You know, things are swirling around, and yeah, he back double talked a few times, and I kind of took note like, oh, okay. And at the end of the day, he didn't say anything. So I mean, again, what do you expect him to say at this point? He's already, you know, the Big 12's already been accused of tampering or ESPN's already been accused of tampering, so he's kind of treading the slippery slope from that perspective. He doesn't want to say anything that could be construed as him going after other schools. So, I mean, he played it safe. He did what he had to do.
Agreed. I mean, there's not much he can say. I understand, we have to ask the questions to see if we get an answer from him, from the folks, the higher ups. But my thing is, what can the American do from this perspective if they cannot get autonomy status by adding 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever number of teams, and by some miracle, the leftover 8 in the little 12 cobble together, they stay together, and they keep their autonomy status, then what can the American do? Andy?
Nothing, honestly. If they can stable and keep their P5 status, it doesn't look like any of the American will be able to make, what do they say, get their way into the Power 6 that they keep branding themselves as. Honestly, if the American ever wants to be in that conversation with the Autonomous 5, they need to expand, and they probably need to take some from those Big 12 schools. They're competing with the Big 12, whether Mike Aresco or anyone else wants to admit it or not. It's survival of the fittest, in my opinion.
And, Will, I'm going to come to you for your thoughts on it because, then we're going to get into the predictions of the finish for the conference football. Unless the little 12 schools break up, go their separate ways, look out for each individual program, the grant of rights to conference will still be there. They're going to get paid from money from Texas. They're going to get paid from Oklahoma. Unless, my understanding, unless the conference disbands, the teams, if it's just 2 teams, will have to pay exit fees. Well, why do I want to do that? Especially if those exit fees are more than what I'm going to get from the American by joining the American. So that means it really does, for the American, it really is imperative for them to, like the Big 12 disbands, just collapses. Because then, if there's no Big 12, then there's no exit fees to pay. So you don't have to worry about the money that you owe the conference because there's no conference. What do you think about that, Will? That scenario, that possibility?
Oh, that's very plausible. And if they don't do anything other than stay a Big 12 conference until the day after the check clears, so the wire comes through, that's what they're going to do. They're not leaving millions and millions of dollars on the table to join. And with all due respect, which we all know that means the next statement is about to be disrespectful. With all due respect to the AAC, they're not leaving that money on the table to join the AAC. They're not. They're not leaving that money on the table to join the Big 10, for that matter, ACC, for that matter. So we're talking, $76.5 million, I believe, is the number. So
yeah, if they leave, 2 years left, yeah.
Right. They're not leaving that money on the table to join the Stop. Like I said, if they don't do anything other than remain a conference until the day after the wire hits the account, so be it. But yeah, that money is good as no. Mm-mm.
Okay, now I'm just playing devil's advocate out there before we go to Clips and Dana Holgorsen, U of H football coach. I would still be stunned that teams don't leave.
Sure.
But I have heard, I think I read, who was it? K-State, Iowa State have already been told no by the Big Ten. Like rumors, whatever kind of thing. But if that's true, they'll run out of options. The Pac-12, boy, I tell you, man, the Pac-12 thinks very highly of themselves, man. Their revenue money is not as great as other Power 5 conferences, but they act like everything is perfect. And these schools in the Midwest, in Houston and Oklahoma State and TCU and Dallas, add nothing to the Pac-12. Huh? I mean, I don't understand the Pac-12 mindset. You don't have people watching y'all in the middle of the country. So you're losing out eyeballs by not having a presence in the middle of the country. And and the merger talk. Well, if Pac-12 does an alliance talk with Oklahoma State and okay, yeah, I want to see the fans in Corvallis, Oregon, spend money flying to Stillwater for that matchup. Yeah, okay, that's going to happen. The teams in Washington State, in Pullman, they're going to do the same. Yeah, got to circle the calendar. We're playing. We're going to Waco. We got to see up. We're going to Lubbock. Rather than pick 4 teams, have and what do you want to call it? Eastern Division of the Pac-12, where you have U of H, TCU, Oklahoma State, Baylor, with Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. That seems to make sense to me. More sense than a scheduling alliance. Who cares about that? Nobody's going to. But let me step down. Y'all comment on that.
Well, the Pac-12 has a new commissioner, so he's like all out. Like, I'll say whatever. I'm new to the game and I'm bringing fresh ideas. And it's like, no, not really. You're not. As you said, I like your Eastern Division of the Pac-12 conference idea. I like that a lot, because what they have issue with now is, for example, September 12th, Oregon plays at Ohio State. It's a 12 noon big noon kickoff. It's 9 a.m. in Eugene, Oregon. Are they going to get the eyes? Now, they'll probably get up because it's Ohio State, but to that point, how consistent are you going to get that West Coast eye at 9 a.m.?
And how often are you going to play Ohio State?
Right. True.
Andy, what do you say?
I'll keep it simple. If the other conferences like the SEC and the super conferences that people keep talking about actually does happen, then the Pac-12 is going to have to swallow its pride, or whatever it is that it's making it seem like they don't want to expand, and they're going to have to do something. Like I said earlier, for basically every other conference that's not the SEC, maybe you could throw in the Big Ten, and I wouldn't even say the ACC there, but I mean, it's survival of the fittest, and you're not expanding. You're just closing doors for your own success.
But Andy, are you talking about expanding as in adding teams, or the scheduling alliance talk?
I'm talking expanding, adding teams. Scheduling alliance. Like you said, I mean, if you look at some of these teams, you mentioned the rural colleges, whether it's Baylor, TCU, Oklahoma State. What's that going to do to any of the West Coast teams, especially? I mean, even look at the Los Angeles schools. Will anyone from UCLA want to travel to the middle of the country for any of those games?
No.
So
yeah, I mean, the alliance talk, it doesn't make sense to me when you look at it from our perspective. And I mean, just simply add the teams and form another division, because that way you don't have to worry about them, except for the most part, maybe once every 4 years or in the conference championship game. But you become the Pac-16, you get the middle of the country market, which should help your revenue. The eyeballs you'll get, the matchups that you'll get with U of H, TCU, Oklahoma State, Tech, Arizona State, Utah, Colorado. Those matchups there would be good. But, all right, let me play these clips from Dana Holgorsen. And Will, if you love the Mike Aresco, you're going to love the Dana Holgorsen ones. So here we go. First up from Coach Holgorsen. Here, just listen to this.
Everybody's excited this time of the year. We were excited going into last year. I thought we made a lot of strides from year one to year two. We sat here and you guys mentioned, I think there were upwards of about 8 games were canceled. So never really got into a rhythm. We were at full strength, for probably the first 2 games, and it never quite regrouped after that. So, but that's water under the bridge. I think we learned a lot from it. Our team learned a lot from it. Our coaching staff learned a lot from it. Our schedule kind of sets up a little bit better this year. We're not behind the 8 ball the entire year like we have been the first 2 years. So excited about getting this year going.
Schedule kind of sets up a little bit better.
Kind of. As
we've discussed on 2 or 3 of the previous shows, if they don't win 8 games minimum with these cupcakes, Holgorsen should feel some warmth on his chair. But Andy and Will, you're from the Ivory Tower from The Ohio State University, so just hold on for a second.
Yes, sir.
Andy, real talk. If by some chance Dana does not go at least 8-4 this year, does U of H have the money to buy him out?
That's a good question. This is entering his 3rd year, so he'd still be owed about $8 million after this season.
Uh-huh.
I don't. It depends how bad. Like if they have another 4-8 season, 3 or worse, I mean, then the pressure will certainly be on Chris Pesman or Renu Couture to make a move. But I like Joseph said, Joseph Duarte told us 2-3 weeks ago. Who would you bring in and then be better than Dana Holgorsen at that price? Or if you were really trying to be a power, the branding, I think U of H calls itself the powerhouse. It's such a tricky situation, but honestly, I don't know. They're kind of stuck in neutral mode now. If I'm being really honest, I don't see them making a move unless if they have another one of those really bad years. And I'll give credit to Dana Holgorsen, and you might play this in another clip, but he seems to kind of acknowledge that pressure. And one of the comments that he said, I'm not sure if it was for the football media availability or the press media availability he had once here in Houston, but just look at what he talked about Clayton too, and he said this is his 3rd year in his offense, and he should see improvement. If he doesn't, then it's on Dana Holgorsen himself. It's his fault, and he should own up with it. I think that's a good positive sign to see that he acknowledges not only that the U of H football team has pressure to win, but he himself is taking full responsibility on it. I mean, he didn't even, talking about last season, he didn't say it didn't count or bring up that they were affected as much. He said it happened. It's in the past. Now we got to look forward to this season, which for all intents and purposes should be a successful year, the most successful year he's had since he's been here in Houston.
Will, 8-4. Let's point back up. President Couture, Andy, she said coaches have been fired for going 8-4, right? She said that.
Yeah.
Okay, so with this schedule is not murder's row. If they go 8-4 or less, let's say 6-6. Well, if they go 6-6, man, oh man. But 6-6. Who's gonna buy him? Who's gonna pay it off? I don't have that money. I'm an alum, and he just recently graduated. He's not making that kind of coin just yet. So
$8 million coming off the pandemic too.
Yeah, Tillman doesn't have that money. Tillman's waiting on other alums to start ponying up money. That's really what he's like. Hey, I've done a whole bunch for the program. It's time for the rest of our wealthy donors to pitch in and and help share this freight. Now, Will, from
Yes.
Ivy Tower from Columbus, what are your thoughts on what we're talking about?
8 wins.
Yeah, I'm so unfamiliar. Number one, no, 8 wins. That's like, yeah, we're at like 11, 12 over here. In no seriousness, though, I'm still trying to figure out what he said when he said we took a major leap from year 1 to year 2. He did say that, right?
Yeah.
And then he said we were behind the 8 ball because we got 8 games canceled, and which I'm like, well, you just said you took a major leap. So now I just had to say that. 8-4 to save his job. That's interesting.
Now that's us talking. That's us
Right.
talking.
Right. That's a possibility that he won't even make that. That's wow. Year 3, that's kind of tough to fire a coach after year 3 because you'd like to get him, a cycle of his guys in, so we can always say, well, I didn't have my guys. That was the former regime, and I never got a chance to fully implement my system. And
Okay, now hold that
It's
thought,
interesting
Will.
you said that, Will.
Hold that thought, Will. Hold that thought, Andy. Hold that. One more clip from Coach. Because this one, let's see if this changes your tune a little bit.
Earlier in the spring, you talked about how this 2021 season was really important just for the football program at Houston to do its part in terms of all the other athletic success that the universities experienced. Have you felt that sense of urgency from your guys in the locker room that, this is the year we need to really take that step forward? I know you've talked about the vibes a little, but just like, have you felt that sense of urgency from the team?
Yeah, I really have felt that. I think our team is older and more mature. I believe this is the oldest team that I've had, so a lot of experience, but guys just are older in the they've been here, they've been through it with me for the last 3 years. Last year was a big year, and people said last year didn't count. Well, I guarantee you last year did count. The record is what the record is. But we did make progress in year 2, and I do believe that we're going to make progress in year 3. But having older guys, like 2 of the guys that are coming up here right now, and Clayton Toon and Marcus Jones, guys are older, they're mature, they've played a lot. They're good players, and I believe they feel, a sense of urgency to get out there and win some ball games in 2021.
And of course, the questioner was friend of the podcast, friend of the show, James Mueller, asking that. All right, Will. Hey, Cougar, of course, from the LA Cougar, yes. Sense of urgency. That's what he said. Thoughts?
yeah, what I heard there was, do you want me to lose my job? That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Those guys know, I only thing missing was I love those kids. That was the only thing missing to me.
Andy, he said there's a sense of urgency with him and the players on this year's team. Is that a good thing?
Yeah.
It's about time. Does it matter?
Well, it certainly is about time. Like you mentioned it, that Renu Couture said that they'll fire coaches for going 8-4. And 2 seasons in, Dana Holgorsen haven't even won 8 games total. So that's difficult. And I wanted to add one more thing that Holgorsen said during Friday when he spoke to reporters here at U of H. He said that we finally got the roster where we wanted, end quote. So, he's not putting any excuses. He's putting himself up there where if they don't see any success, I could totally see U of H making a move. The difficult part is how bad, what is bad enough to get U of H to make a move? Is it 6-6? Is it worse? I'm not entirely sure, but when it comes to Dana Holgorsen and the way he's approached it, he's acknowledged it not only in that clip and beyond. I don't know. It's a tricky situation.
Okay, and the superstar has joined, and real quick, we're going to go to Valencia King. But real quick, the preseason poll predictions for the American Athletic Conference football. Cincinnati, of course, picked to finish number 1. 2, UCF. 3, SMU. 4, Houston. Right there, if I'm Houston, you cannot finish behind your in-state rival. You just can't. Of course, this is preseason. But SMU's recruiting so far, I think, is look better than U of H. That's a problem. 5, Memphis. 6, Tulsa. 7, Tulane. 8, East Carolina, and tied with Navy. 10, Temple. 11, South Florida. Boy, South Florida. Y'all in Florida, man. Y'all just can't finish last. Come on. I mean, too much talent for y'all to be dead last. But shows you how far that program has fallen off the cliff. A note from the American, the favorite in the AAC preseason media poll has ended up winning the conference title just twice in the league's first 7 seasons. Well, I think this is going to be a third time because I don't see anybody past Cincinnati. They're the team to beat. Clear favorite, overwhelming favorite. But anyway, we're going right to Valencia King. Hello, Queen. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
I am doing well. How is everyone today?
We're doing well. Andy, you don't know Valencia, do you?
I do not.
So, yes, Valencia and I met, as a lot of the guests so far, via AJ Jones, via lunch break. So that's how we met, and we're just sharing the knowledge and wealth and trying to help everybody out.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you, Andy. I'm in the mobile office today, as you guys can see.
Yeah. So where are you headed?
Oh, I'm out right now in Dallas. Got an event to cover a little bit. So, yeah, I'm just happy to be here with you all.
Okay. Well, how long? Let's tell folks about you and what you do and how long you've done it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Can you hear? Everyone can hear me okay, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So I am Valencia King. I am a talk show host, speaker, sports reporter as well. I just honestly have the gift to gab. I don't meet strangers often. I've been in the media / entertainment realm for going on 11 years in December. And I just knew that I had to do something where I was talking to people. I always let people know that I love to share my story while helping others to share theirs as well. So been covering professional sports since 2006-07 season with the Mavs. I've covered NBA, NHL, MLB, NFL, and a few other off-the-wall sports as well in the meantime, in between time. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. So yeah.
And you, I believe, have a chance to see Luka up close and personal.
Yes. I'm very fortunate to see Luka Doncic. As people say here in Dallas, they say "Holla Luka." So it's been pretty good to, just kind of watch him progress as a player, because obviously coming into the NBA league, he was a rookie, quote unquote, but he had been playing professional for many years before becoming a NBA rookie. So he's a different kind of rookie, since he's been in the league, but actually just seeing him progress, being more of a vocal leader for the Dallas Mavericks. We saw a little bit more of that during this last season, especially in the playoffs. It's been pretty cool to see. I know he came in with a lot of expectations, a lot of people demanding of different things of him, but we have to remember he came in at like 20, teenage, right off of that teenage year mark. So just kind of seeing him grow into a player has been pretty cool.
Has Luka surprised you at all so far with what he's accomplished?
I wouldn't say surprised, but I'd say more or less I've been just kind of monitoring how he handles the quote unquote pressure, if you will, because sometimes players and just in general may not see what we deem as pressure. They may not see it as pressure. They just see it as their job and what they're paid to do. It's what they love to do. So they get to do it. But just from the media, the outside looking in, just seeing how he handles different things as far as just being welcomed in by the Dallas Maverick fans, because coming in behind Dirk Nowitzki is not an easy task. There were a lot of not necessarily comparisons on how they play on the court, but just comparisons on how they will run their team, so to speak. And he's been handling that pretty well.
Valencia, how long have you covered the Rockets?
Oh, gosh. Probably since the 2006-2007 season, I got a chance to cover the Rockets. And it's a funny story. I actually covered Oklahoma City Thunder before I even covered locally here. I'm based in Dallas before I covered the Dallas Mavericks. So it's just kind of that triangular effect. I know OKC, Houston, Dallas, we're not too far from each other. So it's been a while.
And fellas, she comes to Houston as often as she can. So, and Valencia, now correct me if I'm wrong. Do you drive back After being after covering the Rockets in Houston, do you drive back that same night?
So yes, I have not all the time, but let me just explain for everyone. My grandmother used to be a 18-wheeler truck driver, so driving is just in my blood. So whenever I'm coming to the games, it's not, I don't come by myself. It'll be me and one other person, whether that's somebody from the Real Talk Sports team, whether it's Dex or Ro or Frankie or Miss SWK. There's always somebody with me, and so not driving late alone at night alone for anyone who's worried about my safety. But yeah, it's really it's kind of funny here in Dallas. There was a meme, if you will, going around that says, would I rather drive to Fort Worth, which is about 45 minutes away from Dallas, or would I rather drive to Houston, which is about 3.5, 4 hours? And everyone, the running joke is that I'd rather drive to Houston. It's just an easy drive. Now, don't ask me about driving to San Antonio. I don't love that drive.
And you got any questions for Valencia?
Since you've covered the Rockets for a while, I'm curious, what are the differences or similarities that you've seen between the games of James Harden and Luka Doncic?
Oh, wow. So I think one of the main differences that I've seen between James Harden and Luka is just their background. We have to remember Luka Doncic is obviously a foreign player, and James Harden just has a different upbringing than Luka Doncic. So I think when you talk about grind and grit, it's going to be a different level when you consider James Harden and his background and how he, cares about the community of Houston, and he shows that through and through. Luka is also engraved in the community of Dallas. So, I know that they both care about their communities obviously when James was in Houston, but their backgrounds are so different in how they got to the league. So that's kind of the difference I see in when they play. Like, I know Luka loves the game of basketball, but when I watch James Harden play, it's not for play. He's taking this completely, serious. He loves this game, and it appears to me from the outside looking in, it appears that he's appreciative of every moment because of what it took for him to get here.
What are your thoughts on Jason Kidd as Mavs head coach?
Listen, that decision had my sports group chat going crazy because there were quite a few people that have been saying that Rick Carlisle needed to just part ways from the Mavs for a few seasons. So once that happened, and then they decided to elect Jason Kidd as the coach. For me, I don't know what to expect. I don't. I know Jason Kidd obviously got the approval from Rick Carlisle because Rick Carlisle on his way out even made the comment of saying, I'm the only one that has coached Jason Kidd and Luka Doncic. I know this will work. But we just have to wait and see. We really have to wait and see because we know what Jason Kidd has been able to do as a player and even in the coaching roles. But it's just different. This league has changed since Jason has been in the league. So I think we just have to wait and see. I'd be curious to see how many quote unquote plays they run as a team versus letting Luka just kind of do his thing and play freely. We also have Tim Hardaway Jr., who's officially, signed back with the Mavs. So I'm interested to see how Jason Kidd is going to work in Timmy. I think it's going to look different, but I just don't know if it's going to be different in a progressive way.
What was the reaction you got from you and your crew about the hire? Was there any flack because of Jason, past some of his issues in the past?
Yeah, so there were some people, men and women, who just kind of had some concerns because of Jason Kidd's past. And I think one of the main reasons that it's a conversation is because he is a public figure, if you will, because we know everybody, whether the cameras are on you or not, everyone has a past. Everyone has mistakes they've made. Everyone has things they've gone through. Everyone has a past. But the thing is, everyone else around them may not know about it. But since Jason is a public figure and is accepting this very much public role, it is a conversation that had to be had. And I appreciated in his actual introduction press conference that they didn't shy away from any of the tough questions, if you will. They addressed his past. They addressed where he's at right now and the journey that he's on to continue and, the ways he's feeling that he's progressing. Even Mavs CEO St. Marshall was there, Mark Cuban as well, and Nico Harrison. They all kind of just, made sure that they didn't run from any questioning. So I appreciated that part of it.
I was going to get all of the panel, but Will kind of went out again. He's come back in again. What are y'all's thoughts on the men's and women's team USA's both winning gold in the Olympics? Andy, you first.
Yeah, I think they proved a lot of doubters wrong, especially on the men's side. Speaking of the rest of the world have caught up, I think certainly the gap has been closed. And something that I've seen a couple of people argue, I think what these Olympics in particular showed is that the United States, when it comes to basketball, is still clear-cut better than the rest of the world. Now, where the gap has closed is the USA can't mess around, have an off game without it coming back to bite them. They need to play relatively well to still be able to compete and have the success that they have seen in the past. But when push comes to shove, Team USA is still the best at basketball when it comes to the rest of the world.
Valencia?
Yeah, Andy, I think you hit the nail on the head. Team USA, there was a lot of conversations in the beginning, some questionable things, are they going to be able to do it? But at the end, they did actually get the gold. So I think that's all that matters. But like Andy said, the gap is not as big as it used to be. So some of those, early on mistakes, early games, they won't be able to have that down the line. And I think it's evident, and as it should be. We expect for other countries to represent and get better as times progress. So we want to see more competition, at least for me. I want to see more competition. Not that to say, if it's no competition, it's an easy, gold medal, because none of this is easy, so to speak. But I do want to see more competition.
She's breaking up.
Well, let's go to you.
It was pretty amazing.
Team USA, yeah, I think we talked about this before. Just the commitment time, the time.
Yeah.
This team came together on July 6th. So, and as time went on, you could tell. And not only did they get together July 6th, they lost interchangeably 6 players. Devin Booker, Holiday, and Middleton came in. Kevin Love went out. JaVale McGee came in. Bradley Beal went out. So I think if we had a consistent, and we talked about the 3-year commitment previously, that if Grant Hill, the new head of USA Basketball, were to implement that, I think that will make a difference. But the talent was there. I mean, France is a great team. I mean, they have multiple NBA players. Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA is the starting center for the France team, the French national team. So I think it's just more so the time. And those teams have been together for years and years and years. Each summer, those guys go back home to their own country and they play nationally. So just a consistent team, a group that they can pull, a pool that they can pull from year in and year out. And they have that cohesion, those training camps they had in Las Vegas and years previous, I think would be beneficial. But with everyone with their separate brands, how much commitment are you going to get from that? I don't know. But as far as the women, I mean, it's just a well-oiled machine. I mean, since 1992, I believe, 7 straight Olympic gold medals. And Dawn Staley has been a part of 6 of them, whether it be as a player, assistant coach, and now her first go around as Olympic head coach for the women. I mean, it's just that program is just full steam ahead.
And I'm glad you brought up the women's success. And I got to disagree with Sean, chiming in. I think the days of blowouts for the men's team in the Olympics are over against the other teams that have NBA players. Other countries that have 4, 5, 6 NBA players. So now, Czech Republic, teams like that don't have the NBA caliber players, they still wax them. Iran, whatever, they still wax them. But when Team USA is going against France and Australia, it's got 3, 4, 5, 6 good NBA players on that squad, I think those blowouts are over. KD was sensational for 3 quarters in the gold medal game. He took 1 shot in the 4th quarter. 9:36 left. He passed the ball, and all of us, I was like on Twitter, pleading for them to get the ball to KD, for KD to take shots. He passed up some shots. Other guys came through, all those things. But it's just, they did enough to win. They held on to win. It helped that Rudy Gobert missed 5 free throws, because I still wasn't sure what in the world they were doing trying to defend Rudy Gobert in those high pick and rolls. The formula is there. You got to have somebody who can defend the perimeter. 1, 2, 3 people. You got to have big bodies to throw at teams, big centers. And Rashawn's 12 is more than 4. Okay, Rashawn. The NBA, let's see, how many of the first, second, and third team All-NBA, Yanez ain't American, Luka ain't American. So there are other guys like that who are not, Rudy's not American. So you're pulling down the elite NBA players for the U.S. aren't all going to play for Team USA. LeBron's probably done playing for Team USA. Steph's probably done playing for Team USA. So the best of the best from the U.S. aren't playing for U.S. As Will said many times, Jeremy Grant's a Piston. Jeremy Grant did not belong on this team. Okay. Keldon Johnson is a pop guy. Keldon Johnson is not one of the best players in U.S., but he's on the team. JaVale McGee, role player. JaVale McGee is not one of the best players, not a first, second, third team All-NBA. So those days are over. Dream Team NBA, those days are over. But Valencia, turn on your mic because on my end it's like your mic's off. But okay, there we go. All right. Valencia, what are your thoughts on the women's success? And Dawn Staley says she's done. She got her 6th. She got her gold medal as head coach. She's done as head coach. Thoughts on that?
I mean, they say when you walk out, you got to walk out on top. So I'm not mad at it at all. But with the women's success, I was really not necessarily surprised, but really good to see Brittany Griner. I think she finished with about 30 points in the gold medal game. But I just love it. And then even afterwards, this is off the court, of course, but their social media, they had their, TikToks or Trillers going, videos with them and their medals. And it was just really fun and really good to see. You work hard, so you get to play hard as well after the job is done.
And I'm not going to ask you to comment on this, Valencia, but looking at the Asia Wilson's TikTok, those ladies can drink. And UConn players, they're so used to having success, since college, high school. It's not a problem for them to throw back some champagne and bottles. They just like, what else you got? Was it like some Stewart, Taurasi, Sue Bird. Every picture you see them after winning championship, they got the big bottle of champagne, and they just, yep. So maybe that's the key to,
so.
Yeah, But in the women's team, 7 consecutive gold medals. 7. Only other in-team sports in the Olympics to equal that was the first men's basketball team when the Olympics basketball was brought into the Olympics in 36, 32, something like that, whatever. And then 7 straight. 72 Olympics when they were robbed. I don't even count that silver medal. So to me, go back another year, go to the next Olympics. Because Andy, do you know about the robbery of the 72 Olympics?
I
The
do
U.S.
not.
robbed. Research that, Google that, man. That was a travesty. You talk about politics getting involved in sports. Google that Olympics, that gold medal game between U.S. and Russia. That's the biggest travesty in basketball history. Just period. It was so ridiculous that the U.S. team, I think, Will correct me if I'm wrong, V correct me if I'm wrong, they have yet to accept their silver medals.
You're right.
You
Some
have yet
players
to.
from that team.
They did not go out to the podium for the medals, for the anthems, none of that. I think Doug Collins, I know for a fact, he says he will never accept a silver medal from that ridiculousness. So, but yeah, Andy, Google that. And I think the final 5 seconds took an hour. It wasn't that long, but at least 25 minutes. Foul, no foul, basket, review, no basket. It's just ridiculous. Just Google that. Valencia, who do you think should replace Dawn Staley as head coach?
That's a great question, and I don't have an answer. It's so early. it's so early because I think I don't know if people are in shock, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, man, a good thing coming to an end. So I don't know.
Andy, I'll chop your head. Do you have anybody in mind? How about Ronald Huey? I kid.
Ronald Huey.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Seriously there. Valencia, are you going to cover any of Summer League, NBA Summer League?
Oh, we lost her there.
We lost her. Uh-oh.
I
Will?
have one, Chris. I have
Okay.
one, yeah. Adia Barnes, Arizona.
It makes sense. But one thing going against her, and I say two things. One, Dawn Staley has already suggested Cheryl Reeve, who was on her current staff, Coach Jim with Minnesota Lynx as well in the WNBA. But one thing against Adia, I think this summer, when she was on one of the younger squads, was Adia's first time in the USA basketball pipeline. So I talked about politics in the Olympics against Russia, U.S. men's 72. There's politics involved in USA basketball as well. You got to be in the pipeline. You got to start at some point younger. As a player, coach, get in there, become part of the family, and then go from there. So, but I think Dawn bringing Adia in to coach, be on her staff, and I think it was competition in South America in June, July, will help Adia get into that pipeline. So maybe somewhere down the line, she can, first become an assistant coach on the Olympic team, and then head coach, down the line. Hopefully I'll be alive to see it. But the fellas winning the gold medal were the first to win after losing an opening round game since Russia did it. I forgot how long ago that was, but the team with the formula is set. You got to have guys who can play defense, perimeter defense. You got to have guys defend the post, and you got to have guys who can make threes. And a lot of threes, a lot of guys to make threes. And it comes out apparently that Dame played, not sure when it happened, but he played at least part of the Olympics with an injury. I don't know if it's abdomen. Shams Rania tweeted out late last night that Lillard was injured and he gutted it out for the team. But guys, is that the reason? Is that injury the reason why Dame's defense was crappy for almost his whole stint with USA these last few weeks?
It's a reason. It's okay. It's a reason. Go ahead, Andy.
No, I was just going to say that he mentioned what part of his body the injury was too.
I'd have to look and see. I'm not sure.
This is abdomen.
Abdomen, right?
Abdomen.
Yeah.
Abdomen.
Yeah.
I could see him affecting it, but it's such a. I wouldn't know if you could pin it directly all the defense on that one injury, especially we don't know how long it was. Was it for the entirety of the Olympics or was it during the Olympics that he got injured?
Okay, well, let me go at it like this. Is Dame a good to great defensive player when he's healthy?
Are we talking? I think he could be, at minimum, he could be an average defender. I don't know what you mean by good to great. I don't think he can necessarily come down 5 possessions and lock down a top scorer for a good majority of them. But I think when he needs to, if he needs to get one stop, he can lock in and defend a guard in the NBA.
Okay.
Depends who it is. Now, if we're talking Steph Curry, I could see him struggling. But if we're talking, so maybe he can be an elite defender. Now that I think about it, but
I mean,
if it comes down to one,
he's not Drew. Okay, he's not Drew Holiday.
Right.
Okay, he's not
right.
that. But he really and his fat contract is kicking in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really wondering if Dame is just going to be a one-way player the rest of his career, just going to score, and just give up a lot of points on the other end. So I'm not sure if Dame, if his defense is ever going to be there. Boy, I see Valencia back. Will, I don't know. Will, which one are you on? Which one are you?
Yeah, I saw that.
There we
I
go.
don't know why the second one popped up. There we go.
Okay. Valencia, I'll ask you before we close it out, and thank you for joining us on Folks Talking Sports. In your opinion, is Damian Lillard a good defensive player?
I would say yes. Just because of the attention that he demands. I mean, we've seen it time and time again, not that he can just shoot from, the whole other side of the court, but the attention he demands given a regular season game, playoff game, what have you. I think that calls to say that he is a good defensive player, offense and defense, but defense, I don't think there's too many people that are going to look at Damian that's guarding them and think they just have an easy day.
Okay, but I think that day's coming. I think it's coming. If it's not this coming season, the next one is coming. And Father Time is undefeated. So I'm just saying, and the load he has to carry on offense, so much. And I'm not asking him to be elite defensive player. I'm just asking him to be not a turnstile defensive player. That's where I think he's getting closer to turnstile status. And no shade, because I'm not in the NBA. Okay, I can't guard any of these folks. I'd have problems guarding y'all right now. So let me just put that out there right to be clear. All right, we're gonna close it out. Valencia, how can folks find you on the social media platforms and the internet?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Are we losing her again?
we're losing her again. Try to come back in, Will. How can folks find you, Will, and with you?
Wait.
You're buffering, so go ahead, Will. Try to fit it in before she comes back.
Will's dark screen in mine. I can't see him.
Okay, that's because he went away. Let's try it again. All right.
What?
Okay. We just lost Valencia. Will, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, go ahead. How can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Will Gibson 7. Facebook Will Knows, as well as www.wtgsports.com.
Andy, how can folks find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter at Yanez_5. Be sure to check out Podslam Jam on Spotify or Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. Dayon and I recently recorded an episode that came out this past Thursday, and we talked a little of the similarities that we talked at the beginning of this show. We went a little bit more in depth. Mike Aresco's comments, Dana Holgorsen, and what he talked specifically in terms of the expectations for this coming year. And then we also went back to Kelvin Sampson's availability last Friday, where he talked about Quentin Grimes and Dejan Jarreau getting picked by the Knicks and the Heat. And check that out, Podslam Jamo. Every Thursday, for the most part, new episodes every Thursday, wherever you listen to your podcast.
And we're going to close it out so Rocket fans can tune in to ESPN2 5:30 matchup, summer league matchup between the Rockets. And go ahead, Kaz, what are you going to say, Andy?
Yeah, I was just going to say a couple things. Armani Brooks will not play today due to health and safety protocol.
Oh, wow.
And Quentin Grimes just had his summer league debut, had 9 points, 4 rebounds. Struggled a little bit shooting. Is 3 for 11 from the field. 3 for 8 on 3. So not the best of you, but like you said, it's summer league.
Summer league. So he took 3 2-point shots and didn't make those. Okay, I see. Armani is out, like Andy said, to health and safety protocols. We already had the Wizards didn't have enough healthy players for their game against the Pacers. That game was postponed, but I mean summer league, so I don't know how they're going to fit in a postponed summer league game, but whatever. But it's still around, folks still dealing with it. I'm kind of curious to see if Armani's issues will affect the rest of the Rockets. I mean, you know, he's a teammate. He's not practicing by himself, you know, so I'm kind of curious to see how that all works out. We will wrap it up. I'm Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review, HoustonRoundballReview.com, Houston Roundball Review on YouTube. Twitter is the HR Review. Thanks, Andy, for what he's doing with our Folks Talking Sports Twitter account and everything he's doing for that. Well, it's good to have youngsters, man, to help out, man, because, you know, me as an old head, I'm just not hip like on some of the stuff like he is. He gets it out there despite working a 9-to-5 job and putting in, you know, the work he's doing. Thanks to Valencia King. So, you know, technical issues. Maybe our afternoon times at Gremlin Field, man, because 7 o'clock time, we don't have these problems. 7 o'clock later in the evening, we seem to be no issues or limited issues. But you can follow Valencia King at I Am Valencia King on everything, as you put it. So I Am Valencia King, everything, Twitter, Instagram, everything. She knows her stuff, and we'll have her back on in the future because these Folks Talking Sports live stream shows are here to stay as long as we are able to do them. So we're going to continue doing them and tune in to ESPN2 now to watch Rockets, Cavs. Will says the only Cav worth watching is Evan Mobley.
Well, no, one more. I
Okay.
forgot. Isaac Okoro. His second year. He was a rookie last year, number 5 pick from Auburn. Didn't have summer league last year, so it'll be interested to see what he, you know, made all rookie second team last year. So it'll be interested to see what he does.
And who is that?
Isaac Okoro, the first round pick of the Cavs
So
last year.
Isaac and Evan Mobley, that's part of the future right there, right? Will, the young, the big man. Yeah. All right. And Rockets, that's how to close it out. Today, Rockets versus Cavs on ESPN2. Tuesday, August 10th, Rockets versus Pistons, 8 o'clock Central on ESPN. August 12th versus the Raptors, 7 p.m. Central on NBA TV. And then on the 15th, August 15th, 7 p.m. also on NBA TV. 4 summer league games for each team. And then you have the top 2 teams advance to the championship game. And then everybody else will play a 5th or 6th game to close out summer league on August 16th and 17th for the 28 other NBA teams. So fellas, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for your insight. We're going to wrap it up. Let's see. I didn't say Rockets. Let's see. What did I say? Rockets 15th at 7 o'clock on NBA TV. That's next Sunday. So do you want to try to have another live stream at 5:30?
That works for me.
How about you, Will?
That works.
That works? Okay. And for people still tuning in, barring Gremlins, Rockets will have post-game media availability after today's game versus the Cavs. You know, if it's possible, I'm going to have clips on Houston Roundball Review on YouTube. So just stay tuned for that later on tonight. So thank you to 5,000 plus people who are subscribing to the YouTube channel and the 60,000+ folks who viewed Rockets press conference. Thank you very much. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next Sunday.